you doing, Jasmine?
Helping my kids get eggs.
Happy Easter!
Enjoy your Easter. Enjoy your Easter. So today is Holy Monday, the Monday of Holy Week, and in today's gospel we hear about Jesus visiting Bethany to see Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. This is after Lazarus was raised from the dead, right? One of the first times we're introduced to Mary and Martha, we remember Jesus coming into the home and Martha was preoccupied with her busyness trying to get the house ready for Jesus, right? Martha then sees Mary just sitting at the feet of Jesus, not doing anything, and Martha calls Mary out, right? Like, Jesus, are you not going to say something to her? Right? And of course we know Jesus' response is Martha, Martha, you know, you are worried and anxious about too many things. Only one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen the better path. Right? So this time it just says here like that Martha served. Right? Martha served at the supper. So I just imagine seeing Martha remembering the conversation they had previously. She serves them without questioning Mary's acts. Right? So I don't know, I just thought that was kind of funny. And then we see Mary, right? Mary takes this expensive, costly, perfumed oil and anoints Jesus' feet with it and washes his feet with her hair, right? This was an act that was frowned upon on women, to unbound their hair and to snoop down to someone's feet and wash it. But Mary does that without hesitation, right? Meanwhile, Judas is here at the same time. And of course, Judas, what does Judas say? Right, Judas says, why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor? Judas, you gonna question about money and giving to the poor when you about to turn Jesus over? Like, come on, man. Right? So it says, this he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief. Right? And it's like, Judas judged Mary's act without seeing her heart, because Jesus doesn't condemn Mary's act, Jesus defends her. Right? Jesus says, let her keep it for the day of my burial. The poor you will always have with me, but you do not always have me. Right? Jesus wasn't saying the statement, say, hey, don't care about the poor. But Jesus was like, yo, Judas, you're saying this because you're trying to put on a facade. You talk like you care about the poor, but I know where your heart is at. Right? I know Mary's act. I see Mary's act and I see her heart. Right? Mary did that out of act of love. Judas is saying his statement out of act of hate and an act of greed and envy. Right? And then it just reminds me of the cathedrals that we see. Right? Today, Notre Dame Cathedral got caught on fire in Paris. Right? And it's a huge loss, and so many people are affected by that cathedral. And it reminds me of how that same question, right, that people ask us as Catholics. You know, we see the lavish churches and the cathedrals with the gold and how beautiful some of these churches are. And people ask that same question. Why don't they use that same money they put in these churches to give to the poor? To me, that's a similar question that Judas asked. Why not use this ointment, this expensive ointment, take that money and give it to the poor? I don't know, right? But again, man sees the appearance, God sees the heart. Judas saw the appearance and the act of Mary and judged her act, and he couldn't see her heart, and God did, Christ did, right? Something else that happens here is that the chief priest, you know, is looking for Lazarus, right? The chief priest wants Lazarus dead, right? I'm just like, you know, so it's a crime to be raised from the dead. Right, like Jesus proves that he is Jesus by raising Lazarus from the dead, and people still want Lazarus dead for just being associated, for just being a friend of Jesus. Right? How much of a hardened heart, how blind do you have to be, right, for Jesus to perform a miracle like that, and we still don't believe he is who he says he is? For him to raise someone from the dead, and we still don't believe he's Jesus. Right? That's just blindness. That's just pride. That's just a hardened heart. Right? I think the three takeaways we could all get from this gospel is, one, how can we serve like Mary? How can we humble ourselves and serve like Mary, right? How can we remember the fact that we are here to not to be served, but to serve? right? And when it comes to Judas, right, how many times can we be like the Judas, right? How we judge someone's act, right, because of greed, because of envy, because of jealousy, but we can't see their heart. How many times do we act like we care for the poor when really we're just trying to lift ourselves up? Right, Judas just spoke about the poor to make himself look good, where he was using the poor to make himself look good. How many times have we done that? Right? And how blind sometimes have we been to know God's goodness in our life and still question that he exists, to still not really believe. Right? I know he's proven himself to me multiple times. I know he is so good, and then suffering happens and these things happen, life happens, and I question it, like the chief priest who questioned Jesus after he raised somebody from the dead. How many more times does he have to prove himself? Right? This act, right, the washing of Jesus' feet, is an act that we're going to see in the Last Supper when Jesus washes the feet of his apostles at the Last Supper. My challenge for us as we continue on this Holy Week is to love like Mary, to humble ourselves like Mary, to serve not out of praise, but just because Christ tells us to, right? And just always to check our hearts, right? We could all see ourselves in everybody here. Right? I could see myself in Martha, Mary, Judas, the chief priest who want Lazarus dead. But for us to know, right, that this is about us. This whole week is about us accompanying Christ, carrying our crosses every day to Calvary with Jesus, right? This is just another reminder of that. And to understand that to be associated and to be a friend of Jesus could be dangerous, but it's worth it. You could be killed for being a friend and associated with Jesus, but it's worth it. I love y'all. Let's keep carrying our cross. Let's keep praying for each other, and let's keep striving for sainthood and holiness. See you on the next video.